The Fiio FX17. Let's talk about it. This is an 8 EST driver IM with a single dynamic and 4 BAs that costs about $1,500 to $1,700 depending on where you get it and what discounts, but it's an expensive IM. This IM is on loan from another YouTuber, Super Reviews, and I want to thank him for this loan. Let's look at the build quality, but I'm gonna be honest, we don't have a whole lot here to look at. The shells themselves are pretty comfortable. They are a little bit large, but they're a nice looking shell. They have a little kind of a blue lip around where the MMCX connector goes in, but it's a larger but sturdy, nice feeling shell that has a good amount of isolation. It is a little bit heavy to fit all the drivers, and it is a little bit of a thick boy. Not a bad shell, comfortable for me, but maybe not the best for everybody. Kind of the matte steel has got a nice look that I like, but it is a fingerprint magnet. The included cable is quite nice. It is MMCX, which is a good and bad thing, but it kind of has a blue and red ring. When you take these off, it does have a functioning chin slider. I like the design of this cable. It feels nice in hand. It is there you can swap the termination to a 4.4, 3.5, and USB-C adapter as well. Since I don't have everything with me, I wanted to show you guys what you can get in the package. Has pretty stereotypical Fiio stuff, nice amount of packaging, nice amount of tips, and you see the other connectors there. There's also has a few other images online. You can see what types of tips they have, like you do here with some spin fits and other types of tips that are pretty nice. So how does the Fiio FX17 sound? It has a very wide sound stage and is a very unique IM that I feel like it is very wide open. It has impactful bass and it has good warmth. What is warmth? Sometimes it can be kind of nice, almost like bass, but in my feeling, it feels a little bit almost like mud. It's almost like kind of that muddy feeling, and so it's not as clean as I would want. I would probably apply an EQ to this if this was going to be my daily driver, but it's an all-around nice IM, but it doesn't really have that strong bass. It's a slightly warm set, but it's all around a good set, but it's not really something that I personally would gravitate towards, and that sounds good on my library of music. In fact, I kind of like Fio's older IMs that were cheaper, better. It feels like this is overly incisive, like someone almost like shaking you to a certain extent. And that comes a little bit from some of the parts of the frequency response, but there's some interesting parts of this IM, and I do feel this is nice. It's a really nice IM, and it does have nice details and a lot going on with its drivers, but it is a little bit expensive, and I feel like almost like audiophile jewelry. But let's look at some other IMs and you can make your own decision. All right, let's look at that Fiio FX17 graph. You notice how it measures on my rig, and you'll notice a few things that are a little bit different. You'll notice the trez has nice, well treble extended over here. You'll notice it does have quite a bit of kind of warmth region. Like, let's normalize this at somewhere a little bit more reasonable, like maybe 500. But you can see the warmth amount there, and the upper mids aren't too much, but there's a lot of 8K. It's a nice sounding IM. But there's a lot of other IMs that sound nice that maybe don't cost $1,700. I wanted to make a few comparisons because it's interesting to see sometimes that when IMs have tonality mirrors. Now, these two IMs don't sound the same, but let's take a look at what I'm saying. The Truthier Pure. This is a very nice sounding IM for its price if you're looking for something neutral. And so like the Fiio FX17 is like kind of like that, but it does have a very large spike here at that 8K. You notice that has a little bit more extended upper air and treble, and it is a very nice set overall, but it's just interesting how close these two mirror each other's tonality. So if you're a really big fan of the Truthier Pure, for me it was like a 3-star is kind of okay. And so like this IM itself, I think that's part of the reason I don't like it. I just don't find it overly bassy, overly impactful, slightly warm, not a ton of upper mids presence, just something that's a little bit deadpan neutral, but it's a good strong IEM for people that are after that tonality. There's other IEMs that I personally would go for from Fiio. I really like their FX19, which is a little bit cheaper, actually quite a bit cheaper. I want to say it's like 600. And then there's also like the FA19, which is a lot cheaper. Being I want to say it's only around 1,000, which has a little bit more bass, a little bit more extended treble, a little bit less 8K. I think this is a nice set. It's hard to say whether you might like more, but personally, I think that the Fiio 19 would kind of fit my wheelhouse and my preferences a little bit more, but it's close on both of them. At this price, at this $1,700 price point, you get to have a few what I call powerhouses. And you know, look at what I'm trying to. So if you're after an IM, I wanted to give you two options, which I feel would be better. The first one is the Dunu Glacier. I think the Dunu Glacier is fantastic. Has a little bit more upper treble, but has a lot more bass, and it has a little bit less warmth and more sub bass. To me, that's a lot more of a fun IM, and it's a little bit. I mean, it's tonally correct, but it's not so outlandishly tonally correct. It sounds good and fun at the same time, if that makes sense. And so that's kind of what I prefer, good and fun. I wanted to look at the Softears RSV real quick. Like if you look at the RSV, it kind of has the upper mids, that same little spike. The RSV has a little bit more relaxed 8K, a little bit different approach in its upper air, but they just kind of trade blows there. If you look at the new MK2, you know, this is something that I personally will gravitate towards, something with a little bit more bass, has that similar kind of upper mids, maybe a little bit more with the RSV MK2, less of that 8K, and about the same treble extension, give or take. There are other sets out there that you might like better, and that's kind of what I'm trying to say for a more reasonable price. It's a lot about tonality in this hobby. Another IM that just came out that I really liked was the Afu Dawn X. For me, this IM has less warmth, more sub bass, and just better overall approach, air, and details for my ears. You might like one or the other, but for me, the Afu Dawn X is a fantastic value and a fantastic IM that I would recommend you guys to try given the chance. As far as other IMs, I mean, you'll notice this isn't too much further. Like I personally would go for the Nice Hack Rockies, and you'll notice it has less warmth, about the same amount of bass, but it also has less of that incisive 8K, a little bit better, I think better treble even. And so like that's kind of some other things you can get for IMs that are quite a bit cheaper. Now, don't get me wrong. If you want the Fiio FX17 and you like it and you're looking for something a little bit neutral, it is pretty remarkable in that regards. Its neutrality is very, very good, and it is a very nice IM. But there's so many other nice IMs that you can get for about that same price with a similar tonality and similar driver set. Not really sure that the extra 8 EST drivers really do anything other than add maybe extensive like price to this IEM. I personally would include this EQ, which is basically kind of close to my target. This EQ maybe does a few things not perfectly, but this is kind of something as to what I personally would do. I'll go and put this on screen, and this is what I would look at, and I will go ahead and include this in the video notes to this video. All right, let's look at the Fiio FA19. I really like that set comparatively to the Fiio FX17. I think there's a lot of similarities to them. I like the upper treble of the Fiio FA19. I do think there's a nice sense of detail and kind of slam and soundstage to the Fiio FX17. I think there is something incredible about that from a technical perspective, but I don't really think it really justifies its price and is really that much better than IEMs that are a little bit cheaper. If you find your perfect tonality, sometimes you don't have to spend that much. But I think it's an interesting IEM in this regards with its a nice tuning that a lot of people are going to find very enjoyable and very neutral at the same time. As far as we look at IEMs by Fiio, again, I like the Fiio FA19. I think it's fantastic, but I think some people might like the Fiio FX17. You might like other IEMs that Fiio has. My personal budget pick from them is like the Fiio FD19, but there's some other good sets out there they've done. Maybe you have to do a buying guide someday. Comment below if that's something you want me to do. You know, when I first got in the hobby, it was to understand IEMs like this, like the expensive IEMs that I couldn't always afford or wouldn't want to try to determine whether they're better or something else. Oftentimes they'll have great build quality. They look majestic, and they're made for people that spend a lot of money on IEMs. The price of IEMs is going up significantly. And while this IEM might be expensive to some, I think for a lot of people, this is a fantastic value. And I know you might be thinking value at this price. Yeah. Like compared to a lot of the stuff out there that's 4,000 or 5,000, sometimes this doesn't always make a lot of sense. The fact is now like almost a $2,000 set is almost like a mid-fi set, where depending on the market and what you're looking at, there's just so many sets out there that are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, there's even a $30,000 set that's come out from Rhapsody pretty recently, and it's just that the hobby keeps trying to push people beyond reasonable limits. So, is this IEM worth it? I think so. I think if this is the tonality you're looking for, if you're a fan of the Truth Here Pure and that style of bass and upper mids, I think this is kind of like the creme de la creme and the thing you want. If you're a fan of Fiio's tuning, I think this is also a really good set. And I think things for people that it works for, this is going to be an absolutely fantastic value and great set. That's all I have to say about this guy. Not too much else to say, but I like it. It's super enjoyable. And a great, fantastic soundstage with a nice neutral presence. Thanks for watching my video. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye-bye for now.
Go!
Go!
Go on with you!
You're mid, you're mid, you're mid, you're legendary. You're mid. Jaytis out.